you see him, he's worked out. You actually see him working out in the film, yeah, bulking up before he fights Superman. And the way he moves as well, you look at the body and you think, wow, literally, to each guy, he's putting a combo, like in Batman Arkham Knight, he's putting a combo together, yeah,
Right.
literally kicking the absolute crap out of them.
Right.
And then he moves from that bit, and even though he gets stabbed in the arm, he's still kicking crap at them, and he pulls the knife out, sticks it into the guy up against the wall.
Yeah.
And you can see the fear in his face. He's looking at him. He wants to annihilate them.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that.
No.
When I saw that fight scene at the beginning, I thought, right, when's the next one coming? When's the next one coming? Who's he kicking the crap out of next? And we didn't really see it, did we? We saw it at the end, to a degree. We saw it in the middle a little bit, here and there, but...
Right. Not really enough action, and those action scenes were very flawed because you see Batman getting his ass whooped a lot. Because in that first scene where he's facing the Joker thugs, right? He beats the crap out of the first one, but as soon as he immediately starts fighting the group, they get a couple clean hits on him very easily.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, okay, this feels weird. Like, this feels like, you know the Arkham games, the Batman Arkham games, right?
Yeah.
I literally was thinking, like, this is someone playing the Arkham games and completely being an amateur at them. And like, not knowing when to press the Y button or the triangle button to counter. Like, completely not knowing that you need a counter, like, all these moves,
Yeah.
And then it kind of takes away from the whole plot because you find out at the end of the movie that Riddler's whole methodical plan was that he felt like he was a vigilante like Batman, right?
Yeah.
Right? He felt a kinship towards him, and he felt like the whole thing was about how Batman has misused the concept of vengeance, right? But when you really think about it, vengeance is, as in a lot of the times, brutal. Like, vengeance is brutal. It's not given a care about how the other person is gonna end up, and you didn't see that in this movie. You did not see him be vengeance. I was expecting him to be brutal, cruel, like really showing that not only is he the press, but he's taking it out on these criminals. But I didn't see that. I didn't see a vengeful Batman.
But the other thing we saw in Batman vs Superman a lot with Affleck's Batman is the fear. You can see that he's a seriously disturbed man, even though he's a businessman. He's world renowned. Yeah, he goes to that party and Clark Kent's there, and everyone's looking at him because he's Bruce Wayne. Look at him in that suit. Look at the car he's turning up in. Yeah, he's got that aura about him as the billionaire, right? He's got the brains about him because he runs this company. Yeah, but underneath all that is this fear. And that drives the suit that he puts on and the image of Batman, the fear, because he's taken out the fear of losing his parents and his childhood on the criminal underworld. And you can see every time, literally, in that fight scene in the warehouse, when he's absolutely battering the crap out of them. You've seen it in the comic books throughout the years with fight scenes where you can see the anguish and the pain that he's feeling inside because of the loss of his parents. But then when he dons that suit and he goes out there, he's literally turning that fear on the streets. They're fearing the bat, and he's using it against that criminal underworld. And the depiction through Affleck, you can see the difference between Patterson and that. I mean, there were a lot of scenes, I thought, where he was imposing as the Batman. So, for instance, when he walked into the the room where the mayor was murdered in his house.
Right.
And you see him walking over when Gordon's got the card with to the Batman on it.
Right.
And there's always them shots where he's looking and he just walks gingerly over. I found that quite intimidating, to be fair.
Right. Like those were really great scenes that show that's what I'm saying. Like this movie is kind of a bit of a contradiction because you have these very intimidating scenes, like his walk, the emphasis on his walk, the sound of his steps, right? The way that the cops act around him, right?
Yeah.
He has this intimidating look, but you don't see it enough in the way he approaches criminals.
No.
Right? You don't see the anger. You don't see the fear that he's trying to instill in them.
No.
You know? And what's interesting is I think a better plot for this movie would have been if Matt Reeves would have had a Batman who's near to, right? Who's, still angry. You see him taking on criminals in a brutal and, crazy way, hanging them off the buildings, coming in through the windows, like the stealth in the darkness, and then like having Riddler be the first criminal he faces who now uses his mind, right? And now uses Batman's anger and vengeance against him, right? And Matt Reeves, I felt like that's what Matt Reeves was trying to do, like have Riddler use Batman's vengeance against him, but it wasn't portrayed really well in this movie.
No, I mean, you've seen that once already, obviously in The Dark Knight, when he's interrogating the Joker. And obviously he's getting pissed off with the fact that the Joker's playing with him. And that's when he starts beating the shit out of him.
Right.
But then of course he carries on and he winds him up even more. And then all of a sudden he comes out with the plot. And he's like, what? And then he beats him up a bit more. And then he says, look, you've got nothing to get me with. And then tells them exactly where they are, but switches them. Because he's playing with them. Yeah? Because he knows that he knows who he's going to go after. He's going to go after Rachel and not Harvey. And I found that quite similar with the interrogation scene in The Batman. Because the riddles have led all the way to Arkham. Because he knew he was going to get caught. The Riddler wanted to get caught. Right. He wanted to be seen, this, as you say, this vigilante.
Right.
And he's been caught by the police. Eventually, he gets banged up because of his crimes. But he's now he's like all serial killers. They want to get caught at some point.
Right.
All of them.
Right.
There's this thing with serial killers where they have to get caught so that they're in the public image. Look at me. Look at what I've done. Yeah. It's like a kick to them. The Riddler wanted to get caught. That's why he was in that coffee shop, just minding his own business, because he knew the police would find him there. But what he didn't anticipate was obviously the plan, flooding Gotham, whether Batman or not could actually stop that. Okay, but just before that, obviously with the interrogation scene, he comes out with the master plan, and the Batman gets rather angry, doesn't he? What have you done? And he starts hitting the glass, and he can't get in the room. Bit like obviously Bale's Batman beating the shit out of the Joker. Yeah, there's nothing he can do. At that point in time, he's got him. He's winding him up even more. He's getting angrier and angrier, but he can't do anything. And I just found that quite similar, to be fair. I don't know what you thought. But.
Yeah, I felt it similar, but I also felt it pointless because I felt it was childish because you didn't show this side of Batman throughout the whole movie, and then now all of a sudden you show him getting riled up, and it's kind of unfair because Batman was there, afraid and intimidated in the shadows, thinking that Riddler had figured out that he was Bruce Wayne, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that showed, okay, this Batman is really weak, because how are you not smart enough to know that this guy doesn't know anything?
Yeah.
You know, because throughout the whole movie, he's been outwitting you. So are you really that intelligent of a Batman? Right? And then, like, I felt like Riddler getting caught, wanting to get caught, was pointless as well. Because Riddler has always been a character that got off on getting away with it, right? And being a mystery and no one knowing who he is, right? Like, he's not one of those villains that likes the attention, because that's the point of his riddles, is to remain a mystery and be elusive.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah,
I didn't really like that he got caught the way he did, and that his plot was to because if he was like that, oh, you know, Batman, you helped me, and it's like, it didn't really feel like that was your MO. Like was it really that you were because he only helped you one time, if you can consider that helping you. What about the other times? Like, it wasn't as psychological as I thought it was going to be. Like, it wasn't really all that smart of a plot.
No.
You know, there's too many loopholes. There's too many plot holes in it. Like, there's too many things that don't make sense, right? Like, it's like it almost makes the whole movie not make sense, because it's like Riddler's MO was that he was killing people that were lying and corrupt and part of Gotham's government. But why would he flood all of the city and kill innocent people if he's this orphan who grew up hating only the corrupt, right? That kind of contradicts his MO as a serial killer.
But the thing with serial killers is they just want to kill.
Well, serial killers become serial killers because they have a specific trigger.
Yeah.
Right? And that specific trigger is the only thing that makes them want to kill.
Well, the trigger in this is obviously exposing the elite of Gotham.
Right.
What they really are.
Right. But killing innocent people by flooding all the city of Gotham and purposely creating more crime is not part of that MO. Right? Because in the video games and the comics, Riddler has always like captured, there's some parts where he captures corrupt cops, right? But that's always the MO, is him he's like Jigsaw, right? He's basically just like Jigsaw. He captures corrupt people, he puts them in traps, and he gives Batman a choice of saving them or not saving them by outwitting him, right? And he's always he uses that as a way of him remaining anonymous and staying away from the spotlight, right? But he's never been a diabolical villain of like, oh, let's destroy the whole city. His obsession has always been either Bruce Wayne or Batman, always trying to outwit him and be better than him. Joker, or you can say Joker or Bane even, have been more of those villains who are more of, let's destroy the city.
Well, agents of chaos, aren't they?
Right, because
they're all about chaos.
Where do you go from here? You already created a plot where Gotham gets flooded, right? So that's a really big diabolical plot. Like, are you gonna try to do the same thing that Christopher Nolan did, where it's a different thing every movie? It's a bomb in one movie. It's a chemical reaction in another. Like, come on, that's not no longer original. And that's what frustrates me, because Matt Reeves says we were gonna see a Batman movie that we haven't seen before. And I don't feel like this is a Batman movie we haven't seen. There are too many elements in this movie that remind me of the Nolan films.
I think you're right. I mean, one of the interesting things that I found about the film was obviously with the Riddler, he's hell-bent on finding out who Batman is. Now, there is another character in the Batman world who is hell-bent on finding out who the Batman is, and that's obviously Dr. Hugo Strange.
Right.
But what I found amazing with all three Nolan films, there's always someone in them films that knows who Batman is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously in Batman Begins, he tells Rachel Dawes who he is. Yeah? And straight away, she knows who he is. It changes her perspective on Bruce, that he's now this Kate vigilante. We then move to obviously The Dark Knight, and you've got Coleman Reese, who works out that Wayne Enterprises is giving all this stuff to the Batman.
Right.
And he works out. I think obviously Coleman Reese is a depiction of the Riddler.
Right.
And it's another one of these characters for the future that's embedded in the film. And obviously he's worked out who Bruce Wayne is. Mm-hmm. And he wants to obviously blackmail him. And Lucius Fox cancels it. But then as the film develops, obviously the Joker goes after Coleman Reese, doesn't he? Because he goes public about the Batman, because Lucius Fox wouldn't listen to him. So he thinks by going bigger and going to a network and saying, well, I know who the Batman is, he thinks he's going to get his prize. But of course it opens up a can of worms.
Right. And then
the Joker uses it to his advantage to wheel the Batman in.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
But then Bruce Wayne saves his life, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And there's that little nod when he sees him, as if to say, "Thank you."
Right.
Yeah. So obviously he knows, but then we move on to The Dark Knight Rises, and John Blake knows who the Batman is anyway, because he's followed him from when he was a kid.
Right.
When he was in the orphanage, looking at his body language, looking at his facial, I knew who you were from the minute I saw you.
Right.
Yeah? So there's always someone out there that may know who the Batman is.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. When I found that strange that when obviously we had the interrogation scene in the film and he's come to see him, and straight away he mentions Bruce Wayne. And immediately you can see it drain out of his face. Shit, he knows who I am. And he's hiding in that shadow, isn't he, by the glass as he speaks.
Right.
Then as he goes on, he realises actually he doesn't mean that.
Right.
And he comes further and further out the darkness, starts challenging him. I found that quite of a cliffhanger, because when you looked at some of the trailers, they had that in there with the Riddler saying Bruce Wayne. So I was starting to think, does he actually work out who he is during the course of the film? Does he start blackmailing him? Does he start doing this? Does he start doing that? And actually, I thought they disguised that very well, to a degree. In my opinion, you might think differently.
I feel like, okay, they may have disguised it really well in that moment, but in the long run of the story, it's a plot that's pointless, because it's like it doesn't match up with what you were trying to do with the movie, you know. Another valid point that you made about how in Nolan films everyone knows who Batman is. I've always had this problem with them romanticizing and sexualizing Batman, because Batman has always been a character who pushed love and relationships away. For the first couple of years of his career, he has no relationship. He pushes everyone away. You know, when he first meets Selena Kyle, she's the one who comes on to him, and he kind of like, you know, plays hard to
pushes
get.
her away.
Right. So it's like this movie felt too romantic for me as well, with Selena Kyle getting under his suit basically, right? And
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there was so many elements in this movie that to many people may have been done well, but I feel like people are not looking at the overall picture and depiction of Batman that Matt Reeves did, and it's too flawed. There's too many flaws in it, because a lot of it, when you look at it, is like it doesn't really make sense. It's like it's a really cool movie, and that's all it is, because there's no real foundation in it, and you can see it and everything. You know, I felt like.
I mean, I thought that obviously we're used to the Bruce Wayne, aren't we? Who's the billionaire, the playboy, you know.
Yeah.
Having a different girlfriend every single week, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Building up his persona to hide the fact that he's Batman, giving Gotham this character for them to love, because he's the son of the city. You know, he's got this wealthy business. He's very wealthy himself. You know, he's one of the elitists of Gotham. Whereas, obviously, unbeknown to a lot of people, he dresses up as a bat at night and goes out and beats the crap out of people in the city. I just think, obviously, with this different depiction, we've got a young man, an emo sort of young man, who's basically Batman. You don't really see Bruce Wayne, do you? He is Bruce Wayne, but he's always out at night wanting to be doing something on the streets.
Yeah, he was Batman throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah. And that's different. That's a lot different to the Batman we've seen, because in the other films we tend to see Bruce Wayne more than Batman.
That's true. That's very true, and that's where this movie has gotten a lot of praise, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like even though the movie has a lot, like I'm saying, like I'm heartbroken that I have to critique it, because even though I love the movie and the way that it was filmed and all these little details that are so great, I feel like it was shallow, right? Because they didn't really think about the things that actually mattered when it comes to fans about Batman. And then I'm kind of also shocked that so many people love the movie. Like, IGN gave it a 10, right? And it's like, it makes me wonder, because as a Batman fan, it's like, are these people really Batman fans? Because it seems to me like people don't really understand who Batman really is, because look what happened with Superman, right? The Christopher Reeves movies are said to be the best Superman movies ever made, right? And then they screwed up with Superman Returns, right? That's one mistake. But Zack Snyder was smart enough to not only, but to also give us a Superman movie that was just as good as the Christopher Reeve movies, right? And he gave us a Superman that had all the characteristics we were looking for and the story that goes with it, right? And at the same time, he gave us a Batman in equal measure, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like people aren't really paying attention to that, because look how many versions of Batman we've already gotten.
Yeah.
Right? And then look what's already been done with him, right? Like, do we really like, Batman is always this dark character, and he's always portrayed, you know, with his human flaws, right? And I feel like Matt Reeves didn't realize that Batman is human, but in the DC universe, he's not human like us.
Yeah.
You know, and I think he forgot that, because I felt like this Batman there should have been more action scenes showing that this Batman is capable.
Yeah. Well, I like continuity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, one thing that I love about the Batman comics is you don't see. I mean, obviously, there's a new depiction time and time again when you get a new writer, new artist, that sort of thing. So they depict Batman in a different way. But what you see is a continuation of the villains. They end up in Arkham. They somehow break out of Arkham. There's always this new story to continue the story of Batman. One of the frustrations that I have had over the years is when they kill villains. And so at the end of this film, I was pleased that the Riddler was banged up in Arkham. Yeah, we've got this continuation now where the door has been left open to a brand new story. Yeah, so this Joker character that's in Arkham has obviously befriended the Riddler. Now, the Riddler is always looking for a friend because obviously he comes from a loner background, doesn't he? This orphan, yeah.
Right.
So he's always looking for a friend. Well, now he's got this friend in prison, and I suspect that going forward, you will sort of see the Riddler quite a bit in the second film.
Right.
You will see a breakout from Arkham. The point I'm making is that you should always see a continuation of these characters. Now, okay, fair enough. We've heard of the Maroni drug bust. Okay, so we're presuming that Maroni's in a prison, probably Blackgate prison. Okay, and also his henchman. We've also now got Carmine Falcone. He's been shot dead. Okay, so obviously we've now got the big boss of Gotham out the way, which could lead to the Penguin taking over all the businesses and that in the second film. Okay, so there is the continuation of the story. Now, what I found amazing, I thought it was absolutely brilliant with the Snyder films, was obviously you've got Man of Steel. Okay, literally, Batman versus Superman is taking place at the same time as Man of Steel. As Man of Steel is ending, Batman vs Superman is starting. Right. The first shots you see in Batman vs Superman is from Batman's perspective of what's going on with Superman. Now we've all seen the Superman film. We've seen this Superman defending Metropolis, right? He's defending his new home against obviously General Zod. But from Batman's perspective, Bruce Wayne, looking on this character, what is he doing? Why is he destroying this city? So of course it's riling up Batman. What is he doing here? And it creates a great story. Mm-hmm. And I thought that Batman vs Superman was a brilliant movie, even though it had mixed reviews.
Right.
But to actually see in that beginning from Bruce Wayne, seeing the things that are happening in Man of Steel happening in this film from a different perspective, I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
Because you don't really see that in films, do you? When they continue the story.
Yep.
It just gives that different depiction of someone seeing a different perspective and creating a perception in their mind of this particular character.
Yeah.
I don't know what you thought of it, but
no, I agree. I completely agree with you. I thought the same thing. And speaking of continuation, I do see a lot of growth for Robert Pattinson's Batman. And I'm hoping that in the second movie, they make the corrections of showing off his strengths,
Yeah.
And continuing the roster of villains, because the movie, like you said, I love the fact that now you have the Riddler, you have Joker, you have Penguin. They're all still alive, and they're gonna continue on, probably to a bigger plot, maybe a movie where Batman is right in the middle of it. A long ass night where he has to fight every single one of them. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe an introduction to Mr. Freeze, right?
Well, he's spoken about that, hasn't he?
Yeah, yeah,
Matt Reeves.
yeah. You know,
But obviously they have to try and look into how to fit it into this world,
right.
because obviously the story of Mr. Freeze, obviously he needs the suit to keep himself alive. So how do they convert that into this world, this world that Reeves has created?
Right. I mean, it could be
And that'd be
possible
very
that
interesting.
they can do it where, because they flooded Gotham, maybe the flood causes a malfunction at the same time as Dr. Freeze was trying to save his wife, and then he becomes, the Iceman.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
We will have to wait and see. I mean, I thought it was a good film, a really good film.
No, yeah, it
I
was.
was entertained.
Yeah.
I was entertained.
Yeah, I was too.
But obviously, with your Batman fan brain switched on, anyone can sit in that cinema and say, "Do you know what? That is the most fantastic Batman I've ever seen," and I'll agree with them from their perspective. But obviously, from our perspective, where we love the character, we want the characters to be portrayed to the best ability. We want the plot of the story to fit in with the comic books and the ones that we've read, to continue the story, not to nullify them, but to actually expose them and show them off as they should be. You always sit there wondering how it's going to be portrayed, worried, are they going to do this, are they going to do that? And that just shows the sign of a true fan. And, the Batman world will not be what it is without fans.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Well, Andy, we've had quite a conversation. But it was nice, chatting with you about this.
No, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Me too. I hope to in the future have more conversations with you about comic books and other things as well.
Yep.
I'm really hoping moving forward that we see more DC movies that are really good, because I'm really anticipating movies from DC. I love Marvel, but I love DC just as much, and it's like I feel like there's this emptiness that needs to be filled with DC movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that we didn't discuss, obviously, was the relationship between Batman and Gordon. I thought that was excellent.
Oh yes.
But
yes.
my best Batman and Jim Gordon partnership would obviously be it'd probably be this one. To be fair, when you think back, I mean, obviously the one in The Dark Knight and the Nolan films was an excellent one. But I thought obviously with Alfred as well, I didn't see much of the Bond in this film. But I thought, obviously, in Batman versus Superman, that was the best one.
Yeah.
Between Jeremy Irons and Ben Affleck. And again, it goes back to Affleck, and this is why I think he needs his own film in the DCEU.
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like we're gonna get it. I feel like Zack Snyder, when the Discovery merger goes through, and now Discovery and Warner Brothers are together, I feel like they're gonna make Zack Snyder make the Batman movie that Ben Affleck was trying to make. I feel like
we'll watch this space.
Huh?
We'll watch this space.
Yeah.
Wait for the announcement.
Yeah. But all right, Andy, I'm gonna end the show here.
No problem.
I don't know if you want me to like. I'll put a link to your YouTube channel, so that way people can listen to your podcast.
My stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So they can see the kind of mind that you have, because I would like to have you back on the show for a conversation about reincarnation and occult science, you know, because I know that you're
Near-death
into
experience
those
as
things.
well.
Huh?
Near-death experience as well.
Yeah, that as well. That would be a great conversation that we'll probably have soon. But peace out, guys. Thank you for watching me and my friend Andy. I'm gonna put the link, like I said. Check out his stuff. You know, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Let us know what you thought of not only my friend Andy here, but also the conversation that we had about the Batman and many other things. See you on the next episode. Peace out. Hold on a second.